people, I'm Nikita and you're watching the Happy Hoot. First of all, I would like to thank all you guys for so much of love, so much of support, and so much of everything else that we finally reached 2,000 subscribers. I cannot imagine it. Yay! I know this is cheesy a little bit, but I am very, very, very happy. I cannot express it in a different way than that. I am super excited deep down. Thank you very, very much for making this channel bring 2,000 subscribers. It took like great amount of time, but if it's a slow progress, it is still progress. So thank you very much. Much love. Okay, so I'm now making this video for actually everybody who can possibly watch this video. I am not making this video because it was requested or it was something that I think will get some views and get me subscribers, but because I recently had an experience, like it was few minutes, maybe a few hours ago, today itself. I was talking to some of my friends, and a friend of mine just said something that really didn't only blew my mind, but actually shocked me. So we were talking about something and I reacted like in a very different way. So as a scientist or as a researcher, I tend to find logic in things. I tend to find the reason. I tend to understand why things are happening and what could be the consequences. So I try to find this cause and consequence relationship. And this friend of mine said something and I didn't react in a way that probably was expected. I just reacted in a very simple, logical way. And then I got a message that, hey, you were behaving cold like a German. And for a second, I had two thoughts in my mind. One, you haven't even visited Germany. You haven't ever once spoken to a German person in your life and you call them cold. And the second thing was basically even worse. The Germans are not even cold people. So I don't understand why a lot of people who haven't been to Germany, I don't know about the ones who have been to Germany or who have experienced Germans, like in communication, believe that Germans are cold people. So I was so much furious at that moment that I literally went on internet and I tried to see, what do you mean when you say you've turned cold like a German? Because somewhere it was hurting me that how can a friend of mine just say that you've turned cold? And what do you even mean like a German? So I just went online and I tried to find, okay, what are the traits of cold people? Which people you called cold? Or what defines a cold personality? And the result was pretty much in my favor. What I found was this, that there are certain traits or features that you can define as a cold personality. And it starts with aloof, apart, standoffish, impersonal, disengaged, uninvolved, closed, shut down, detached, remote, distant. Now, to be very honest, I have had more than thousands of encounters with Germans. I mean, this is a very stupid thing to say because I am living in Germany, so I'm surrounded by Germans throughout. Where I am living, I'm going to university, I'm going to showrooms to shop, I go to travel, have Germans around me. But now you have to understand this one thing, that I cannot expect each one of this person who I see in bus like 3 times a month because he or she's a student in university, or he or she's a professor, or he or she's a shopkeeper, to start talking to me immediately and become friendly and start sharing what is happening in his or her family, or what are his worries, or what is she worried about, maybe she had a breakup, blah blah. If I expect that, then I think I am the one who is pretty stupid enough to expect that from a stranger, because all of them are not even acquaintances to me, they're actually strangers. I go one level deep. So I have made German friends And the very first time, I have to be very honest, the very first time I also had a feeling that somehow they are not behaving the way probably I am expecting. But at the same time, I have made the same experience with Indians, with Bangladeshis, with Pakistanis, with Americans. So I don't understand, if I tell that this behavior that I just experienced when I first met a German person is a cold behavior, then how come this German becomes cold and the other ones like Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, and even an Indian does not fall into that category? And this is the experience that made me realize that this is the prejudice in my mind that immediately labels this experience with a German as cold behavior, and the same experience with somebody else or a non-German a typical stranger behavior. So this is my point, that if you know somebody, if you get to know a person the very first time, you can't expect the person. It's okay. There are people who are very open, who really talk their hearts out the very moment you meet them. But most of them are not like that. Or I don't even know what's the majority. Where does the majority fall? Maybe the majority falls actually in a category where people are very immediately talking to you the moment you meet them. And the people who don't share with you the stuff are the minority. So to repeat, level 0 was people I just see, and I know I have seen them like a couple of times, but they're not acquaintances, they're just people I know. Then comes this group of acquaintances that I've just met once, and I've had experience that, okay, they don't share much. Yes, they indeed talk to you about, if you meet somebody in a party, then they talk to you about what are you studying, or what did you study, what are you working, and so on, and that's fine. They don't open up, and neither do I. Now, one level deep is when you really talk to them and you become friends with them. And this is my point. I have never experienced in my entire time duration here in Germany that I have made friends with a German, and this person made me think in that category, in that way, him or her as a cold person. I have experienced level 0, level 1, level 2, all types of communication, or what do you say, this framework of knowing people. And I have never experienced that a German is a cold person. This, though, does not mean that there are no people in Germany who does not have traits which make you, or which can label them as cold people. But if you go by the definitions, or if you go by the traits that we just had in the beginning of this video, I don't think that I would until now put anybody in that category. And this is why I wanted to make this video and really communicate to all of you guys that it's not about labeling Germans as cold people, but labeling anybody or any community or any group of people or any country, city or religion or a caste or whatever, or a gender, into a category that you just want to label them as. And this brings me to this prejudice thing. I mean, it's very common that people tend to believe what they see or hear, but very often you have to experience things and not just believe in what you see or hear. Because I know as a child I believed in a saying that we say, don't believe your ears, believe until you see it. And then there were certain things that happened to me that I saw and I believed them because I now believed in the saying. And after a certain amount of days, I realized that what I actually saw and believed and made a story was not even the true story. So basically, when you say or when you label somebody or a group or a community or whatever under a certain category, then make sure that you really have experienced it, and make sure that you tell that this is your subjective point of view. Because the moment you start categorizing stuff and you communicate it to other people, a lot of people are incapable of understanding that whether it's a subjective point of view that you've experienced, or whether you've just heard and then they communicate it ahead more and more, and then it's like this it's like a blown up, it's like a mountain out of a sunflower seed. So concluding this video, if you ever thought about this statement, or if you've ever heard about or heard people saying that Germans are cold people, or you thought about, are Germans cold people, then remember this video, if you've seen this video, that actually Germans, in my point of view, subjective, they are not cold people. They're just, I would put them as reserved. They don't open up immediately when they meet. And this, I feel, is a very, very basic human behavior. Not everybody opens up in the first meeting, not even in the second and the third. You need to earn the trust and the faith of the other person to make this other person talk what they want to talk to you about. So, in simple words, are Germans cold people? My answer is a big no. So if you guys have been thinking about this, then you now got the answer, and also a tip for life that you should really, really, really always remember, and maybe tell your friends, your parents, your children, if you have now, or if you are planning them in the future, that don't just believe on your eyes and ears until you've experienced it. And also, if you believe in something, then whenever you are communicating it to somebody, then please make sure that you tell it's just in your point of view the thing. Because maybe if you are looking at a thing from a certain perspective, then maybe the other person is not looking at that same thing from this perspective. And perspective is what makes a lot of issues. And I think that's what we humans, and that's what we as humans must learn, to understand the perspectives and understand the differences among people.